Hello. That's what we call the Seinfeld opening. Hello. Anybody here a Seinfeld fan? Seinfeld opening. Hello. Hello. Anybody here is a Seinfeld fan? Welcome. Another Divinity discussion. This is a morning edition for me. I have remarkably been awake for several hours now, which is unlikely for me. I don't do mornings very well. This is morning for me. This is really early morning for the West Coast, and this is the dinner time or close to dinner time for most of Europe. So hello, everybody. It's Tommy here from Team Lindvander. Morning session, yes, this is for all you guys. Morning session. I got my coffee. This will have been the third of the morning so far. To try and wake up. So I've actually been I was out for breakfast already, had a breakfast meeting. And then I was coming back to do some emails, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to put in 30, 40 minutes online and go through some Divinity stuff with all of you Divinity fans. So if you're a big fan of Divinity, you know what to do. Okay, welcome John, welcome Jim, welcome Demox, welcome everybody. I'm going to let this build a little bit and let people know that we're streaming. Let's see here, what's on the comment page of the Kickstarter. See what it says here. You stream more than Ninja. I love it. I'm a stream machine. Plus, I love you guys. There we go. Curtis Stapleton, hopefully you are here with us soon. This Kickstarter is exploding. Let's go through some of the details of the Kickstarter real quick, just to give you some ideas on what's happening, what's the haps. So I've noticed that the curve on this Kickstarter right now, most curves on a Kickstarter, opened up my editing software by accident. Most of the Kickstarters have this it's kind of like the first day just kind of shoots up, and then it kind of does this like weird teeter, and it goes like this. So most Kickstarters have, and then it has this flat line. So it goes boom, and then it just has this kind of like, sometimes if it's a good Kickstarter, it'll do like this, where it'll just be like swimming up a little bit, and other Kickstarters it kind of flatlines, and then it has a bit of a dip, and it's a bit of a fight. And a really bad Kickstarter, it goes and it just starts to decline again until the last 48 hours, in which case you see a bit of that curve up again. This Kickstarter and this community does not know how to say decline. So we shot up, we curved, and then we didn't really curve too far. It's just been a small, and in the last 2 days, it went like this, up again. So I feel like, so in the past 20 Kickstarters or so that I've done, I feel like, top of the morning to you, Curtis. I feel like the Kickstarters I've done in the past, I've always done the traditional curve bend, but this bend, this sort of like uptick that we're getting here now is what the 48-hour trend starts to look like, and we're hitting this like 4 days early. So I'm a little excited because I think we're going to have a hell of a finish, folks. We are over the night here. We hit yesterday. We hit the stretch goal of. Let's go back to it here. We're 767% funded. Whew, my God. We hit the stretch goal of the crafting components, which I love. Oh, I'm so excited about that crafting. So let's see here. The crafting cards, rune crafting cards, and rune crafting material tokens. So this is like a major add-on to the game. You can now modify all your weapons and stuff and do extra things with these runes. It just took already my favorite mechanic, which was the crafting mechanic, and it just made it better. Let's take a look real quick. Let me grab the crafting components and show you what it looks like. If you haven't seen it yet, if you're new to the Kickstarter, welcome. If you're new to this feed, welcome. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and welcome. Now let me find the craft bag. There it is. Okay, so, whoa. Oh no, I'm losing coins. Can't lose gold coins. Ah. Oh no, damage tokens. Sorry, it's a mess. Losing everything here. Okay, so you get this. Oh no, I'm out of focus again. Get back in focus. Okay, so here we go. We've got this. You get these little felt bags. How wary are you to review the whole game, combats and challenge, to take into account of these extra runes? I'm not sorry, Jim. I'm not sure I understand. The game, the runes are just another form of crafting. If I understand your question correctly, give me a second to figure this out. I'll explain these. So the crafting components is really cool because you got a bag full of these little tokens, these punched out tokens, and you have containers, which I'm going to show you the right way. You've got what we call one half, which is containers. Hello, Martin. The containers are things like, I was going to say bread. That's how tired I am. Paper. Some paper tastes like bread. Canister. So paper, canister, bottle. These are just some of the components, right? Paper, canister, bottle. There's also a few others. There's arrowhead. Paper, canister, bottle, arrowhead. These are some examples. Whoa. So let's say you pull out crafting components and you get this. You get the paper, the canister, or the bottle, or the arrowhead, and they all have a number corresponding to them. So you've got 2, 4, 3, and 1. So these become your tens column. These become your tens column. Okay. Then if you go through and you reach in the bag and you look for other components and you find things like we call them materials. And so in this case, you might find on the other side of the coin, you'll find essence of fire. You can find essence of water. You can find a yarrow flower, which is another big component in the game you can find. A yarrow flower. A mushroom. Right? And there's a bunch of other ones. There's Amaduvir, I think it's a whisperwood, tarball or tarball. So I mean, like, you can find a bunch of different components. And what you do is you combine the container with the item. So in this case, if I were to take a bottle and I were to combine it with a mushroom, I get the number 10. I love this component. At PAX U, a lot of people were going crazy about this component, about this part of the game. So you combine these two, and it creates 10. Then what you do is we've got this cool deck of cards, which, congratulations, the Kickstarter goal being achieved means that we have the deck of cards gets now like really thick, and we get even more of these little components to find. And you go to the deck of cards, and on the bottom of the card you have a legend, and the little legend of numbers on the bottom, and you try to match the number that you've put together here with the number you put together there, and you get 10, 10, and 10. So mushroom and bottle combine together to create a healing potion, and that's a one-off healing potion that you get to use. There you go. That's a one-off healing potion. Now, if we were to take, let's say, get rid of the mushroom and put a bottle and fire essence together, we create 16. Now let's go through my list and see if 16 is something. 16 isn't anything. So there's no water, and so there's no fire bottle. However, if we put the canister together and the fire essence together, it equals 26. And let's go find 26 and see what 26 is. 26 is a Molotov. So a canister and fire essence of fire creates a Molotov, which basically range 1 attack area, hits everything, even your friends, and it does 3 blue dice, which is pretty good, of fire damage. and the stars, which are most common on the blue dice, will put the item on burning. So you'll roll dice individually for each person. So if three players are there and 3 magisters are there, you're going to roll 6 times. You're going to pick each of the characters. You're going to just roll. It's a roll fest. And you can put everybody on fire, even your friends. So hopefully someone in your party has rain to be able to rain down on the area and get your friends out of... So then else we got other things too. So you got arrowheads. So if you have like an arrowhead and you put the arrowhead with the fire essence or like or poison essence or... wrong way. There we go. Oh. Jesus. There we go. It's backwards. God. Thank you. There we go. If you put them together, you get 36. 36 combines into fire arrows, which is a one-time use with your arrows. You take this and you add star fire damage to your arrow attack, so you can put things on fire with your arrows. Really cool crafting components. Questions. Is it possible to craft multiple of the same items, or are runes burned when used? So the runes should be able to go back into the deck or back into the bag. At this stage, I'm not sure. I think there will be minor runes that go back into the bag, but I think some of the greater runes will be burned because the campaign will have so many of them. But there will be enough to be able to give you some diversity in your items. But don't quote me on that yet, because that's a design space that is Dylan and Josh's technique. This crafting component thing is just incredible. What do we got here? The runes boost powers of weapons, armor, defense, etc. Hadn't factored in during previous game testing. I wonder how much of it... Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. The runes being factored into the game test isn't as rough as you think, because the frequency in which you get these runes, mathematically, Dylan knows this stuff. This is all like Dylan's design talk stuff. You're asking me questions about math? Come on, I don't know math. 1 + 1 is 9, as far as I know. But if I were to make an educated guess based on the design conversations we've had, it shouldn't affect the combat too much, because you are using the runes to modify your weapons for a permanent effect, but you are not gaining things like healing potions and stuff because of the quantity and the percentages that you'll actually be reducing other areas of your character. And a +1 damage is pretty effective, but you'll have options like Nightmare Mode, which I'm sure we're going to hit in 2 stretch goals from now. And there are other optional rules in the book to increase and decrease difficulty. So you'll be able to really tailor the game in a way that you'll be able to, to decide how hard you want this game to be for yourself. There's lots of little optional rules and things. By the way, you like my Excalibur? Excalibur! It's a sword in the stone. It's my sword in the stone. It's like a really good attraction piece here at the Round Table Cafe. This is my cafe. I decided to change up where I was. If you haven't noticed, if you watch that video that I posted of Nights at the Round Table where we're playing, this is where I'm sitting, playing the scene when they fell for my trap. So hopefully that answers your questions, Jim. The Molotov moment was great. It won't affect the combat very much. We'll be able to tailor that. It's a quick math redesign to make sure that it doesn't break the enemies. Also, we got to be careful because we can't just increase the power levels of the enemies because you might get a really cool rune, because the runes are random because you're drawing out of a bag, right? It means you might get nothing but yarrow flowers and paper, or you might get nothing but runes. So your game will swing a little bit, but it won't do too much to the game's overall experience. Hopefully that answers the question. I mean, I think Dylan and Josh could probably answer this question a bit better, but I just wanted to show you the crafting components, because now that we've unlocked that goal, we get some really cool stuff. Oh, he does go off on tangents, but I go off on ramblings. So we've all got our things. What do we got here? Will the miniatures be pre-assembled? They will be pre-assembled, yes. Cudden Gaming asks, and then there's a question above that I'll answer in just a second. So the miniatures will be pre-assembled. We had a discussion about that. We know that the SKUs, I mean, when we design games and we figure out what we want to do, a lot of the times we ask ourselves questions about what we'd like to do, because Dylan and Josh and I are very different gamers, and if we can come up to a conclusion where all three of us are satisfied, we think that we're hitting a good chunk of the market. Now we know there's other markets out there that are a little bit like people love their SKUs, so people like to build miniatures. I don't feel like this game is the type of game where people also, in addition to everything, want to build their minis. So we're going to have everything pre-assembled for you. I would love to have the budget to have them pre-painted for you, but painting is something different, and I think the Vallejo paint pack is a great opportunity for you guys to paint your minis. If you don't like paint, the grayscale minis are going to be great. They're going to do the job anyway, so you don't have to worry about that. So, and then how level up work in the dungeon expansion? So, leveling up is done a few ways. Hello, Edwin. Leveling up is done a few ways. One way is that the leveling up mechanic in the game, there are stages where you gain memory, and other things like your initiative modifiers or your health will go up. Those will be milestones in the campaign that will tell you to level up. That's to keep the game consistent in terms of the leveling up versus the types of bosses and creatures at which stage in the mind map you're at. It doesn't matter which storyline you're down, they're all going to have something similar in the same format to say, oh, congratulations, you've defeated this boss, things are cool, level up. And when you level up, you have access to memory. Now, your skill cards, you need to still find the skill books and buy them off of merchants, find them in dungeons, loot them off bodies. And those skill books will be what you can learn, and you'll have a broader selection of abilities to use than you will be able to use due to your memory. And so when you level up, eventually your memory goes up, and then as you level up, you will acquire the ability to use to put points into your skills. So, for example, let's talk about Hydrosophist here. You get a skill book, okay, or you buy it for the price, and you add this to your pool, and you've got like rain and hail strike and excuse my yawning. Ooh, excuse me. Oh, these mornings and that, right? Let's go through all of Hydrosophist. So I got a bunch of my abilities for Hydrosophist. I've got rain, I've got hail strike. Where's my hail strike? I didn't take a hail strike. Rain and hail strike are level 1s. I got a bunch of level 2s here. I've got cryogenic stasis. I've got ice aura. I've got restoration, and then level 3 I've got winter blast. Okay, so what'll happen is that there's level 1, 2, and 3. These 2 are level 1s. These 3 are level 2s, and this is a level 3. Your memory is like 6, let's say. Well, you've got a choice. You can go 1 level 3. So if you found the level 3, you can use it, and that's 3 of your 6 memory. And then you can go 1 level 2 and 1 level 1, or 2 level 1s. You have to find another level 1. I know we've got one somewhere. And that way you can do 3 level 1s and a 3. So you've got lots of variety, or you could basically just go 2, 4, 6 and take all 3 level 2s, which is like kind of mid-range level variety. 2 level 1s and 2 level 2s. Now you got tons of variety. You can modify your memory, but here's the other thing. Your memory also counts for both the schools that you're in. As you gain levels, you will put levels. As you level up, you'll put points in your skills, your talent trees. So it'll be like Scoundrel, Summoning, Geomancer, Hydrosophist, and those levels will go on your character sheet. Those levels will go on your character sheet here, and you'll power up your character in various schools. And when you use those schools, you gain bonuses. Also, level 2 and level 3 skills have requirements. For example, Winter Blast has a requirement of 3 in Hydrosophist before you can even use this ability or learn it. So you need to have 3 levels in that, which means you're going to have to gain 3 levels, and you start off with 1 point in 2 categories, or 1 point or 2 points in 1 category. So you have to actually level up before you can even get that. So if you find that book early, you can't use the book until you get enough levels built, and you have to have enough memory to use it. So you could have a bunch of level 1s and 2s, and you can have a bunch of level 3s, but if you don't have the abilities to do level 3s, you can't use it. This also means when you're respecing your characters, there's certain points you can go and respec your characters. You have to be careful on what you're using for these skills. I've seen characters do like, because you get 2 batches, so you could be like a Hydrosophist polymorph. Let's say these are your schools. Hydrosophist polymorph. So if you do Hydrosophist polymorph, then you could put your points in, and I get 2 points. Let's say I could go 1 and 1. So polymorph, Hydrosophist. I could go 1 and 1. That way I'm equally when I use either of my abilities, I get the bonus equally. Or I could put 2 into Hydrosophist, none into polymorph. I'm a little bit weaker when I'm using my polymorph spells, but I'm really badass when I use my Hydrosophist spells. Hydrosophisticated word. Language. Hydrosophist. Hydrosophist, is that what it is? Hydrosophist. Yeah, Hydrosophist. User of Hydro. Watermancer. So your leveling up is really, that's how you level up, basically. Is you're going to be leveling up here, you're going to be gaining memory and other things will go up as well. And then you use your skill books, you learn your skill books, you buy your skill books, you trade for skill books, you steal your skill books, whatever. And then you build up your skills, and then you formulate how you're going to memorize your spells and stuff for the day, and go into battle, do your thing. You don't like it, you can change it out. That is the beauty of this game. So hopefully that answered some questions for you on that. I figured that's an informative piece of information you guys would like to know. I'm going to put the crafting components back. And then I want to show you what I want to show you. I want to show you what I want to show you. I want to show you what love is. Ding, 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 ding. I want you to show me. All right. So the other thing, what I wanted to show you guys, let's see here. Read the questions first. Will all the contents of the extended edition be delivered in one to get together? It'll all be in one go. Yes. We're not doing waves. We had a brief discussion about waves. We're not doing waves. We're going to print everything at once, poop it all out, and ship it all out to you. So you're going to get it all at once, guys. Questions. Are the race-specific talents like Encourage of the humans or Flesh Sacrifice of the elves included? They should be included. I was actually going to go through the talents with everybody and tell you what we've got developed so far, or at least what's in the sample. Is it possible to pickpocket the NPCs? Some of the NPCs will have an option to pickpocket, and those NPCs will have small bits of loot accessible to them, but the consequences can be grave and dire, which means that some of these NPCs will turn into enemies. Or they might not even be into a fight, because I know in the game if you pickpocket and you piss them off, pickpocket a guard or something, it turns into a brawl. In this situation here, it might affect the Chronicle chart. So for example, you got your Chronicle chart here, and you have the option to pickpocket an NPC, and you do, and you fail. It says check off key event 57 on your Chronicle sheet. Don't know what that is. Could come back to haunt you later. You never know. Any updates on the Divinity dice tray? No, but I was playing with a dice tray last night with a felt insert. I thought it was really cool, and I liked the use of the dice tray, so I think I'm going to make that negotiation go a little bit faster and see what I can come up with. So I'm glad. Thank you, John. I'm glad that you enjoyed the answer. Let's go through some of these abilities, shall we? Oh, hold on. There's still questions. You guys are asking such good questions. I can't even get to the meat. What happens to the content in stretch goals that we don't reach? It doesn't get made. You know, Stephen Lee, there's none of that negativity here. I'm just kidding. We're going to hit all the goals. You know we're going to hit the goals. We're totally going to hit 1.5. I mean, look how fast we're going up as it is. What are we at now? I mean, just in this conversation alone. Did we shoot up? Yeah, in this conversation alone, we shot up another like $600. So, I mean, it's pretty good. We're at 6,722 awesome sauce backers. We're 1.228633 and 52 cents, oddly, converted. So that's pretty good. In Canada, by the way, the numbers look really good. We're at 1.67 million. It's like, that's a really good number for Canadian. I just kind of wish it was American. But we're killing it. So I'm not worried. We've gone up in a considerable amount. And as I was saying earlier in the feed, if I just click and look at the dashboard real quick, the curve is just constantly going up. It's arcing this way, and we haven't even hit the 48-hour response yet. Plus, there's still a lot of time for our $1 backers to decide that they really like the game, and they're going to jump in, and hopefully we'll get some conversion. Yeah. Usually they say on the last 48 hours, you get what you make on the first 48 hours. If it's a really good campaign, you do more. If it's not so good a campaign, you do just a little bit less. But you usually match the graph. So it's like hard curve at the beginning, kind of flat line, and then hard curve at the end. So if we do in the last 48 hours what we did in the first 48 hours, we have no problem hitting the stretch goal. So let's take a look at some of these abilities, shall we? The first one is Hothead. Hothead. And Hothead says, when you are at full HP, one attack a turn gains +1 success. Pretty good. So the fighter with Hothead, or any character with Hothead, your attack gets +1 success. It means you're dealing extra damage so long as you're at full health. This is usually given to a knight or a fighter, but I think because they're always in melee, they're always getting chip damage. It's better to give this to someone like a sorcererish class, that it can be sitting in the background, or a ranger that's sitting out in the distance and doesn't take as much damage, and then you can Hothead and just like pop, 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 pop and do extra damage. That's Hothead. Hello, Takamichi. Good to see you again. Hey, John Hutton. Good to see you out there as well. And Russ is here. All right. I'm loving some of these new extras. We got some of the new extras, new fans of the site. We got some of our usuals like John, who have been around for months with us, and then we got new people to hang with, Curtis and Takamichi and Pop 1984, Rob W. So that is Hothead. Pop, right? Arrows, or if you want to do some sound. Valdo's here. Hey, Valdo, good to see you. I love this new community. This is great. I can't wait to see what happens when we launch Army of Darkness and we get another group of new community members and we can talk about Army of Darkness. Hopefully you guys like Army of Darkness. Katrin, hello. Oh, okay. There we go. Now I know who it is. Now that we're almost there in the stretch goals, are those minis our new bosses? We have some new bosses, yes, which means they come with new decks of cards, new flavor, and potentially some new storyline additions. So the next one is Stench. And Stench, when enemies determine targets, your initiative token is treated as if it were at the end of the track. Ooh, that is epic. That is such a good power. I've actually never seen this power in the board game yet. This has got to be one of the ones that Dylan and Josh made. This is sick. They determine as if it were the end of the track. So most enemies have first in the initiative track when they get target enemies. This is fantastic. This puts you at you never get targeted. That's a great ability. This is my personal favorite. This is the one I use all the time. The pawn. Once per location, flip this token so it has a negative side to it. So flip means it's canceled, and every new location you can restore it. But once per location, flip this token to move an adjacent area without spending action points. For a rogue character or for a character that wants to get in, hit, and get out, the pawn skill is amazing. So these are 3 really cool skills. I mean, this is a hard choice, right? Like, do you want to go DPS with the Hothead? Do you want to be like, make sure you're never targeted with Stench? Or do you want to go with the pawn and just move around the board like with super economy? Awesome abilities. Then you got Far Out Man, which should be Far Out Person. But Far Out Man, skills with range 1 or more have +1 range. Does not apply to weapons or items. So skills, this is for skills only. So for a skill, for example, that would have range, would be my favorite. Where are you? Searing Daggers. So Searing Daggers has a range 1 single, 4 black dice for the chance to make the opponent burning. So with Far Out Man, this is a range 2 weapon, which is very versatile in the game, range 2. It's Far Out Man. Let's see here, what else we got? We got people asking questions. You got me by surprise today. Wasn't expecting this. Was hell tired, but now feeling better with a new piece of heaven. Hey, it's all right, my friend. I figured I'd go a little bit early today because the EU folks are at dinner time. Maybe you can watch this while you're having a meal. Most of the North America is awake now. The West Coasters are the ones that are going to suffer. Sorry, it's a little early for them, but, they'll get over it. Have you ever expected the game to do so well on Kickstarter? I actually had no idea what to expect of this game. I think internally, Larian and ourselves were thinking this game was probably going to do... We were hoping that it would do 800,000, so we really blew past that expectation, so we were happy. So it's done better than we expected, and we are hope that it will continue to do better. So, always missing the start. Having to go soon. Watch it tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Your live streams are awesome. Well, thank you, Gustav. Thanks for coming on to this stream. I love doing these streams. I might try to do more of these things even after the Divinity Kickstarter is over, especially during the development. And, of course, feel free to watch Josh and Dylan and their feeds as well. So range 2 virtually does hit everywhere on a 8-space board. When you start removing cards from the board, it changes with the range, and you can get up to range 4 or 5. It's really strange to describe. Probably hard for you to understand this, but range 4 or 5. I actually don't have a board on me here to show you because we gave our board away to Wormwood, because Wormwood is trying to do a really high-end board made out of wood. It'll be a really expensive item, but it's for the people who really want to invest in the board. And so we gave that board away for them to do the prototype on. So let's go with Executioner. This is the Executioner talent, and then I'll answer some more questions. Executioner. Executioner says, if you defeat at least one enemy on your turn, gain 1 action point. So this is actually a really good thing too for the character to finish people off. If you go in and kill off an enemy, you gain action points back. So you can start to bounce back your action economy, so you can do more things in a round. Executioner's pretty good. Then we've got a picture of health. The picture of health. Which is what my doctor says to me. You're a picture of health. And I'm like, I know he's lying. It's actually a she now. Picture of health. Increase your maximum hit points by 2. That's pretty darn good, actually, because I've seen a lot of one-shots happen. So, which leads to some of the questions here I'm going to answer. So, picture of health is you increase your maximum hit points by 2. That's a cool ability. So, let's read here. What happens when a character gets killed in the game, says Slawomir. Is it respond? It respond. So, when the character goes down in battle, they're down. There are ways to bring the character back up. There's some action economy, there's some spells, there's abilities and items and things that can bring you back up. The characters will have to do to bring you up. But if you were out for the fight, you basically turn into a glorified computer because you're rolling dice and you're doing all the automation of the game. You're like the bank in Monopoly, which is cool. And it's still a lot of fun to play because you just suddenly want to kill everybody until you get brought back up. But the combats are designed to be fairly quick, so you're not out for long. And then when the combat is over, you get respawned and you're able to go and search and stuff again, unless another combat breaks out. But when you are in search mode, you can heal and stuff, so there's opportunities. What happens when... Could you do a bouncing shot to hit multiple enemies in 2 separate areas? Whoa. Wait a minute. So bouncing shot. Are you talking about that cool ability, otherwise known as Ricochet? So Ricochet is a huntsman ability. You can choose up to 3 targets in a single area, and you just ricochet. So hopefully that answers your question as yes. If you have the huntsman skill, Ricochet, you can totally smoke multiple enemies at once and bounce an arrow off their head, which I've never seen done in real life, but we'll call it good. This is Divinity after all. Okay. Could you from Ghent, Belgium, Lawrence Studios, almost neighbors. Well, hello. John, you're lucky. Ghent is beautiful as heck. I've been there like 4 times. I love it. I love it. There's a rib place we went to that was really good. That has these big baked potatoes, that all you can eat baked potatoes and ribs, and the butter has this flavor to it with brown sugar or something to it that's just so good. that I ate more potatoes than I ate ribs. And there's this Indian place, a really good Indian food place, up the alcove by the Starbucks on the main strip. I don't know the street names. That's also really, really good. If you happen to go in there, you can tell them that Lynn Vander was there. They know who we are because we gave them really good Google reviews, and they were super appreciative. We went there for a second day in a row, and when we walked in, they recognized the shirts, and they were giving us stuff because they were super, super appreciative about the high reviews we gave them. Really nice people. Worth going and checking out. Permadeath possible in nightmare mode. So permadeath is possible in nightmare mode. Permadeath is possible in the game, but it'll say in the description, if the game is won, if the battle is won, continue to counter X. There's very few dead ends in the game, but there are some dead ends where you hit and it says if you lose this fight, the game is over. In which case, you as a team can go back to your save point, revert to the last save point, and do the fight again. Or you can actually do what I would do, which is be like, canonically the team is dead. It is time to start the game over. Which is cool, right? Or maybe there'll be some sort of cool storyline hack where you can make a new party and pick up where the fight was and be like, you discover the bodies and like you can loot the bodies of the adventurers and then you continue the adventure where they left off, except that you won't know all the stories. So I don't know, I'm just dreaming now. Have you seen Baldur's Gate 3 and is it super cool? Just nod slightly if there's a Larian agent watching what you say. I have seen a lot of secrets of Baldur's Gate 3. I will never reveal them, but I will tell you that you are really going to be happy. That's all I can tell you. I mean, think about it. Look how good they did on Divinity. They've now got Baldur's Gate. You know they're going to kick butt on this. You know it's going to be the coolest thing since sliced bread. And sliced bread is awesome. Seriously, Baldur's Gate's going to be amazing. From what I've seen of it, I'm more jealous. I want to be more involved in it. I'm actually trying to be more involved in it. Actually, I got a few bets going on with Sven. I failed the first bet, which was the first 48 hours of the campaign. But if we could end on a certain note, I get to do some cool stuff with Baldur's Gate. So please, up your pledges, guys. Help me win my bet. Amadeus, that's what it was. It's the rib restaurant. Yes, delicious. We went, and then the other Indian place is cool too. Have to go. See you, Martin. Do I need to be into the IP for the game to make sense? Absolutely not. You can picture this as like a generic fantasy world that you really enjoy and get into. It's got rich story, rich characters, cool imagery, cool colors. It's another fantasy world. It's another cool fantasy world. You don't have to know the IP to get into this. We don't write things and show things esoterically so that way if you've played the game you go, oh, I get that joke. And you're the only one at the table going, I don't get it. No, the game is clean and written in a way that it's all-inclusive. Everybody can enjoy it. But much like an onion being layered, donkey, much like an onion, it's got layers. So if you actually get... if you actually are into the IP, then you will enjoy it in a different way. Not more, in a different way, because you're into it, you know. So, for example, like I've never read the Lord of the Rings books, so I got a chance to watch the movie, and I enjoyed the movies for what they were. But the people who read the books said, "Oh, there's all this and there's imagery for that," and and so the people were able to enjoy it in a different way. But it doesn't mean that my experience of Lord of the Rings was any less. So, they're going to kick ass. Thanks for confirming that. Oh, yeah, don't worry. You will not be disappointed with Baldur's Gate. That would be cool, Valdo, yes. I would love to have the Banner team do some voiceover for Baldur's Gate 3. That is part of the bet. I would love to do some voiceover work for Baldur's Gate 3. As you enter Neverwinter, that'd be kind of fun. Now you need to pitch this game mechanisms for D&D to wizards. Maybe. Hello, all. Hi, Natasha. Good to see you back. Hey there. Congrats for reaching 1.2 mil. Thank you, Roland. Thank you, Roland, for helping us get to 1.2. Any ideas how long we're going to wait to see Season 2? Yes. So, a lot of things are if right now. So, if this game gets launched early, okay, let's just pretend that everything's going to go according to plan. and we're not going to over-deliver. We're just going to deliver exactly as we promised. The game gets released at Essen in October. It's in your hands before then, but it gets released at Essen. The public gets it. We now are going to give you 6 months to play the game. It doesn't matter if you buy the game after the information has been submitted. It doesn't matter. You can submit your information. It's still cool, but there's going to be a 6-month chronicle period where people will be able to play the game, finish the game, upload the material, upload their chronicle score sheet information to the website. We're not going to launch the website until 4 to 6 months after the game is finished. Actually, some people are probably going to power through it in like a month. So we were debating when we're going to launch the website, but the website's going to go up. People are going to put their information in. We're going to collect information for 4 to 6 months, and then there will be very communicated on the site, probably even a timer that you have X time to get the information in. All that information comes in. We're going to take all that information, compute it all, see what we're going to use, see what's affecting the game, and then we'll be able to tell you through cool methods like stories and maybe some comics, maybe on the live streams, maybe some of those cool videos. We'll tell you some of the results that happened, and then Season 2 will be announced and will be shot and kicked probably next year, like within 8 months after it gets launched. So if it goes off in October, we're thinking probably a September, maybe a year later. So September, October for the next Kickstarter, September. And then it'll be 1.5 year cycles. So if it goes a bit quicker, we don't know yet because we have to wait and see. A, the campaign has to finish. B, we have to get the thing to print. And C, we need to see what the results are in terms of post-sales. What exactly are the characters in the stretch goal? Are they bosses, novelty figures with mild interaction, or what? So some of the characters are NPC hype. So you've got Solora, and so Solora is like the cheese vendor. He's a glorified NPC model, more of a hypey kind of thing. We don't know if we're going to make Solora a playable character. We were debating that as for fun, but like we did with the Black Cat. But for the other bad guys, for the other characters, Brachus Rex is a boss. So Brachus Rex will have his own cards, his own sets, and will be plugged into the storyline at that point. Malady is nothing more than a glorified mini right now, because Malady is she is integral to Divinity, but in a way that the story is being told like Merlin is to Arthur. So you have to more of a god figure. So it's kind of a vanity figure. So we figured because people were asking for it quite heavily that we thought, okay, it'd be kind of cool just to give an extra. And cost-wise, it's no worry because it's a stretch goal that we've incorporated into it, and you get this cool mini pack. So that's sort of what Malady's. And the chickens are actually usable because there are polymorph spells that the bad guys and the players can use to turn things into chickens. So you can put the chickens all over the board. So those are the chickens. Plus, we want to make one of the chickens Kieran. So you have to paint one like Kieran. I always wanted to ask you what made you go into board game designing business. Ooh, that's a story into itself. Let's get back to that one in a second. That's a longer story. Throw the cheese vendor into the question too, actually. Yeah, so the cheese vendor is also a glorified NPC. More of a vanity model, but still usable. Seasons 2 or 3, are they going to be Kickstarter as well? Yes, Faldo, they will be Kickstarted as well. You're Gustav, I'm used to the Drew talk, not just the Divinity talk. What did Gustav say? Yeah, the True Talks. I do the True Talks every Monday. I try to do them every Monday, and in True Talk, I try to talk about a variety of things. It's just Divinity's kind of consumed everything the last little while because there's just so much to talk about. And I'll be honest, my True Talk audience is roughly, 20 to 30 on a regular watching basis. These sessions have been anywhere from 50 to 75. So I know that the majority of people here are looking for Divinity questions. So I like to talk about Divinity questions. However, if you guys are interested, I can definitely tell you how I got into the board gaming industry. It is interesting. It is very different. And it is accidental. That's all I got to say. Answer a few more questions here. Sorry if it's been asked already. What is the boss upgrade pack? What is it? It's a boss upgrade pack, meaning that there are extra bosses that get plugged into the game, so you have bigger bosses and boss miniatures as well. So it's just everything that's upgraded means that you're getting more content. The game is going to be so huge you will not be able to get through it all in 60 hours. So you're just going to... We wanted to make a game that you could beat fairly quickly. So you can play this game in 20 to 30 hours. You beat the game. You had a great time. You got through some cool storylines, but you've only seen like a third of the game. So every time we add more content to this game, you're actually getting more and more hours of playtime per campaign, and you're getting more and more campaign opportunities to see multiple things. So it's very diverse. But eventually, it's just going to get so big that you just like it's out of control, and there's no point. So that's why we're hitting that ceiling right now. We're getting to the point where it's getting a little too packed for what you could possibly play. This game could be on your game table for the next year, easily. Constantly, weekly. Hey-o. If you click a chicken, you die. No, it won't be like that. Will Season 2 be an update to Season 1 or will be standalone? It will be standalone. I believe we will have a standalone product available, but I believe we are designing it in a way that will also give it a... hold on. Let me just get this thing back in focus. But I believe it will also be... have an upgrade pack for those that wish to have an upgrade pack, who have all the things from the first season that don't want to have to pay the big bucks to get a second season amount of stuff. Are you going to provide custom card sleeves as an add-on? No, I don't believe at this point custom card sleeves is possible. That's a longer conversation, and I don't think that's something that we haven't even started dialogue in that category. So at the rate Lynn and Larian move together, we would probably not have enough time to do that. Telekinesis is part of the game as well as teleportation. Please tell more of the board game industry and how you got into it. Okay, so let's go back in time here. Ready? I started my career as an entrepreneur, meaning not working a job and getting paid a regular paycheck, in the film industry. I was cast in a horror film, a trauma film called Kill, and I really enjoyed the process of it, so much so that I then dropped everything that I was doing currently in life, which my education background is I have an honors degree at university for working with drug addiction and youth development. So it's a lot of psychology for youth and drug addiction theory. So a lot of neuroscience and stuff dealing with how drugs affect your mind and how drugs affect the psychology of growth, and mainly in youth, because my goal at the time was to become a youth worker that dealt with early onset addictions in kids to help get them off drugs in the streets. Very noble compared to what I'm doing now. And while in university, I got cast in a film, and I've always had an obsession and fantasy with film life, but never really had the confidence until university built high enough. I did some extra work and acting work as a kid, but never did much beyond that. And when I got into the film industry, and I realized I was kind of into that, I kind of just went full face forward into it, and it started conflicting with all of my volunteering and all of my youth stuff and my education. So I finished university for posterity. So I got my major in psych with kids and drugs. And then my three minors were theater studies, botany, which is part of the science part of working with like drug addiction, and classical linguistics for Greek, Latin, French, German, all that stuff. So linguistics is a big part of my life as well, which is where I get a lot of my weird naming conventions and stuff that I deal with. And so getting into the film industry was like a really big deal for me, and it was very hard because I spent probably a good 6-7 years at the bottom of the barrel scraping by with whatever funding I could put together to make movies. I made a bunch of shows and things that were like, some of it never really went anywhere. I ended up selling one show, one kids series, I optioned it for 2 years, and it had Disney XD channel back in the day, put a lot of money into it, and we shot this crazy pilot, which I'll show eventually someday, this pilot show. And it was kind of cool. Good to see the money built. I lost control, so I just was basically hired as a consultant to sit on set and watch them butcher my idea, which was fine because I don't mind. And so my film life was very like prominent and prevalent. It was becoming bigger and stronger, and I was doing very well. In fact, what you see here, the round table with this giant stone, my sword in the stone, the tree behind me, all the stonework behind me, all the cool decor and the epoxy built dragon heads and stuff. This is all real. This is all stone. It's all stone, hand carved. This is my cafe, and it is built by set designers that I used to hire all the time on some of my film sets. So they came and they built me a medieval looking, like, taverny cavern place. And they built all of my places. I have 2 other round tables, and they built them all like this, and it's all hand carved and painted out of stone, like a museum piece. And so that was an edge I had when building the cafe, but we'll get to that point. So this is my board game cafe, yeah. And so my film background has lent itself to all of what I do now. And that's why, if you notice the film that we released called Nights at the Round Table, that's my new show that we're working on, and you see that we did this little plug for Divinity. The sort of like we made that in like 40 hours. So it was like a 48-hour film festival. But that's basically something that my film background helped us do, because we were able to pull together some of my Toronto colleagues and stuff to bring them all in. We got some castmates from LA and Palm Springs. That's the Power Ranger. And Vince from the Guild. These are connections that I made in the film industry. I know practically most of the cast of Buffy. And so I was in the film industry pretty heavily for quite a while. Film became my career so much that it wasn't a hobby anymore. And so I needed a new hobby. I stopped playing video games back in PlayStation. So for me, it was like Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil 2 were like the last times I played video games. Before that, I was absolutely obsessed with Super Nintendo and Nintendo, and played Final Fantasy 2 and 3. My absolute obsessions. That's where my tattoos come from. Final Fantasy 2. This is the Dark Knight, Cecil, which is my nickname since the 90s. And the Dark Knight is where I've come from, which was a bit of a dark past, kind of a drug-abused house and stuff like that. And so the Dark Knight represents where I come from. It's my offhand. And the Paladin, which is the side that I try to aspire to, the honorable side, is where I've gone and where I'm going. And it is my strong arm, because it is to show that I have conviction to do right. And so that's my Paladin, that's my Dark Knight. So my obsession in video games was all that. I also played Baldur's Gate 1 obsessively. And Robert Paulson, a friend of mine, who's a voice actor, who was in Animaniacs, he was a Ninja Turtle, was also, he was the voice of Khalid in Baldur's Gate 1, so that's kind of cool. And then I played Neverwinter Nights for a while. So these are my and then I was really obsessed with Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy. That was my first MMO experience. I did World of Warcraft for like 6 months when I broke my ankle, just before I got into film. And then my video game life kind of died out. The reason why it's important I'm bringing this up, because it's part of my board game life. So I needed a new hobby. Film was consuming everything, and I needed something to just let my brain go. So because I was just obsessed with film all the time. And so I needed to get away from technology, and board gaming was the natural fit. Through all of my life, the only thing that has remained constant is that I do play Dungeons & Dragons constantly. Pathfinder, D&D, 2nd edition, 3rd edition, 3.5, Pathfinder. Now I play 5th. I've even developed a world for it called Legacy of Mana, which is my own world build that's going strong. It's getting stronger and stronger in the world right now. Like, it's actually out into the universe, doing very well for me. So I played D&D, but I only played it like once a month, maybe once every couple of months with some old friends, and didn't really get a good fix. So I needed a new hobby. And board gaming became it. And so my first board game that I played that really got me into gaming, outside of like board games like, I played Monopoly, and I played like in the 80s and 90s, I had Fireball Island. In fact, I have an original Fireball Island. Check this out. You can see it right by the light. I have original 1987 mint condition Fireball Island. Badass. And you can see my other games. Wait. Where's it? Buffy, Shadowrun Sprawl Ops, and there's a bunch of other ones on the shelves. I've published a few. But so I needed to play a new hobby. And the game I played was, this is suddenly a true talk. The game I played was Arkham Horror, right? And it was a really fun game. It was fiddly, but it was fun. And I was like, this is really cool. So then we started playing more games, and so the next board game that we brought to the table was Betrayal at the House on Haunted Hill, if you've ever played it. And Betrayal at the House on Haunted Hill, I found it so different and interesting. And because it was so new to board games, I'm like, this is such a cool game. And at the table at the time, I said, I was so sick of horror because in my film life, early filmmakers, if they really want to get some sort of like name for themselves or some success, they tend to delve into a horror genre. So I spent a good chunk of my early years in horror, and I got out as fast as I could. My first film was a comedy. It was like a Kevin Smith Clerks style comedy, which I'll never show. Mainly because the technology was bad, and also because the writing with my partners who I wrote with, it was, at this point it's 2005, 2006. Not gonna lie, it's, let's shut my phone off here, get it down. Not gonna lie, the reason why I'm not gonna show it is because there's some jokes in there that are inappropriate for the progression of today's age, and they don't reflect how I think. Just some comments about stuff that shouldn't make sense. So I would never want to, I never want to like get that out there. That's just not who I am. I'm progressive in my language. I'm progressive in my jokes. I'm progressive in society. I'm inclusive of everything from culture and sexuality to whatever. So I didn't want to deal with any of that. So the comedy was kind of dirty and stupid, and who cares? It's juvenile. But then I did fantasy, and that was my fantasy show that I did, and blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I was so sick of horror that I said, I wish there was a game like this, but fantasy. King Arthur, which I'm obsessed with. If you haven't noticed, my cafe is called called The Round Table. My new show is called Knights at the Round Table. I am literally sitting behind Excalibur, which is stuck in a stone, in my cafe in Camelot. I'm obsessed. And so my friend at the table, he was kind of a little bit of an upstart friend of mine. He likes to challenge me. He just he says to me, he goes, well, I said, man, I really wish there was a game like this, but fantasy or like King Arthur. And he goes, well, you're like a hotshot entrepreneur. If you really want a game like this, why don't you go make one? And everybody laughed. And I'm like, so it's like, And the next day I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'm like, yeah, how hard would it be to make a board game? This doesn't seem like it's too difficult. Well, it was. So I sat at the cafe for a very lengthy period of time, at a cafe, one of my favorite cafes in town, and I take paper clips and cue cards and little gems and things and paper, and I carbon copied a lot of Betrayal, but then I started to amalgamate it into my own IP, and I eventually just created what I thought was a very cool board game, all King Arthur oriented. And I went and a couple weeks later, our gaming group got together to play another board game. Keep in mind, I've only ever played 2 or 3 board games. So, funny enough, my first game is like the offshoot love child of Arkham Horror and Betrayal. Because, of course, those are the only games I had in my mind at the time to know how to build a game. And I built this game called Albion's Legacy, which has been which has been the biggest boon and one of the biggest curses of my board gaming life. I brought the game to the table, and I said, here's a bunch of cue cards, and I said, there's my board game. And we played it, and it sucked, and it needed a lot of work. So then I went back, they gave me some notes, I went back, I reiterated it, and then before we played any real board games, on our board game nights, we would always play an hour or 2 of this game, and they'd test it, and they'd see what they think. Then we'd play like Attack Wing and all kinds of other cool stuff. So then, long story short, my film life and all of my graphics work doing like, as I did like the cover of like the 3rd season of Walking Dead, like the DVD trap sheets and the movie posters, all of my Photoshop skills and stuff like that made it so that way I didn't have to worry about finding money to develop the graphics for Albion's Legacy to give it that look and feel. And I knew artists because I would go to all these Comic-Cons for film, and I got to meet artists and stuff that became friends outside of any sort of business, so there was never any like favor pushing or business. And I asked them for some favors, and they gave me some really cool art, and then I put some money into it. Next thing you know it, boom. I had a board game that was developed, a board game that was graphically sound, and a board game that had some really cool art to it. I didn't know what to do next. So someone said the magical word that has brought you to me, that has been the biggest boon and curse of my life, Kickstarter. And I was like, let's try it. So we put Albion's Legacy on Kickstarter. It raised $29,000, which was huge at the time. This was like, we're talking 2014. Massive amount of money for a Kickstarter. because the biggest Kickstarters were like $400,000, and this is before the cool mini wave. And I kickstarted it, and I made a very big mistake. I literally promised too much for what the value of the Kickstarter was, but I didn't know this until it was time to manufacture. Then I got into the wrong, I stepped into the wrong pool of water with the wrong manufacturers, and then the story begins. And in a long story short, I made a nice series of mistakes, lost tens of thousands of dollars in those mistakes, thought I knew what I was doing. Still, in hindsight, these were big mistakes. But at the time, as I was pulling the triggers on all these stupid mistakes, I was also pulling the triggers on being Mr. Know-It-All and trying to launch more games and trying to create an industry in becoming a game guy, like a publisher, which was the biggest mistake. Backlogged myself into like 3 or 4 games, and then when the first game was released, it had most board games have a percentage of a defective rate, and so the defective rate for most board games is supposed to be like 2%. My first board game's defective rate was 100%. It was so bad that when people were getting their games, there was scratched boards, missing components. Oh my God, it was so bad that I couldn't sleep at night because it was like the biggest nightmare of my life. And the manufacturer basically told me to go F myself, and that's nothing they could do about it. I had already paid them. I had gone way out of my league financially, and that was it. So I thought, wow, there goes my career. The problem is I had a bunch of other games I had to fulfill and no money to do it. So I was in really big trouble. And it was at that point that I knew I could just say sorry and walk away and then be hated and then not get into the gaming industry. But I couldn't do that. I couldn't sleep. I was just like, no, that's not who I am. I didn't do it in film when film got hard. I stuck with film and I worked really hard to get past those mistakes in film, and I became better for it. And I wasn't going to do it in board gaming, especially because of the dare and where I was in the career, which, by the way, Aaron Murch, who's part of Lynn Vander, he was with me in that struggle as well, because I hired him on and became a partner to the early days of this, and he was with me on that struggle. And we were both like, I was just like, so on my first Kickstarter called Albion's Legacy, there's 2 Kickstarters for it, but one of my first Kickstarters, there's an update called Update 77. You can read Update 77 if you can find it. It's worth the read, because what it was I made a decision, and that decision was, I said, I don't know how long it's going to take me to do. I don't know financially how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to reprint the entire game, and everybody's getting a copy, comped, for free. And I did this. And I will tell you, that was 2014, 2015. That was 2014. We are now in 2019, about to crest into 2020. That's 6 years. This year, because I'm thinking I'm in 2020 already. This year, early year, is the first time that I have seen myself out of the financial effery that I put myself in, and it took me 5 years to dig out of that hole. I worked extra film, and then I started cafes at the same time, but the cafes are other sinkholes into themselves. But unfortunately, I did launch a bunch of Kickstarters in that time frame that I thought I knew what I was doing before I learned my lesson, and that includes Sherwood's Legacy, Neverland's Legacy, and then the late disaster Gascony's Legacy. Tried to create a series of games because I figured that these games were actually going to be popular enough to create a chain effect. And this is before legacy games became legacy games. So even though it says legacy on them, they're not actually legacy games. But they were out before legacy became a thing. So now it's brand confusion. So I recovered from that. Sherwood's is mainly delivered. There's still some backers that have missing stuff that we're sending stuff out on a weekly basis. Neverland's is mainly delivered. We just got our playmats finished, so that's the final component for Neverland's. They're being delivered next week. Everything is kind of being delivered, and then Gascony's was like sort of like the weird elephant in the room that needed to get done, but because of the financial constraints on our lives, we had to work our arses off for other companies to be able to create enough income to A, sustain our livelihoods, and excess money to build toward paying. And we finally paid off the manufacturer, so they have the money for gas kitties now. Now we can finish the game and send them the game. So it was all financial. And I could have just said, screw it, and walk away, but I can't do it that way. Update 77, this is part of you asked the question, I told you it's a long story. You asked the question of how I got into board gaming. Update 77 triggered a whole bunch of feeds, and people were like yapping about it forever. I actually got messages from other Kickstarter people being like, are you crazy? Why are you doing this? You're setting a precedent. I'm like, what precedent am I setting? You can't finish your game? Don't do Kickstarter. Like, the only precedent I'm setting is making Kickstarter a better place. Morons, don't do this. And so other Kickstarter backers who I guess were afraid they were going to have to drop their campaigns were getting mad at me for it. Don't care. I even had other backers, non-backers, message me. So if you guys ever heard of the Dice Halvesies, the guy who created Halvesies, before he created Halvesies, messaged me and said, hey man, listen, I think what you're doing is crazy. I'd like to donate for a copy of the game. How does $1,000 sound? And I actually refused. I said, I don't want money for this. Update 77 has nothing to do with me saying, please give me money. I don't want money for this. If I wanted money for this, I would have been like, sure, give me the money. No, it's more of a pride thing. I want to make good games. I want to be a board game designer. I want to be in this industry, and I want to be respected and notable. I'm not going to gain respect by begging for money for my screw-ups. I'm going to gain respect by doing it hard, by taking my face and grinding across the stones. And then afterward, when it works, when I'm in the clear and I can see the horizon, damn, it's going to feel good. And you guys get a chance to see, damn, it feels good. Because Divinity is the damn, it feels good. So let me continue how I got to Divinity. So San Diego Comic-Con, several years ago, after Update 77 was fresh and new, I finally got into the new printing. I'm at the Horton Grand Hotel. I end up meeting someone who's a publisher who has their own falls with Kickstarter and managed to dig themselves out of it. And as I was sitting there, I was like, oh, it's one of the first games I ever backed on Kickstarter. It was Mega Man 2. Or Mega Man. It was a really bad ending of a game, but a very beautiful looking game. And the person turns to me and goes, sees the Lynn Vander thing, and I didn't have this shirt, I had a different shirt. And he goes, oh, you guys are the guys that did that Legacy game. I was like, yeah. He goes, wow, that was a really brave thing you did. So you guys seem to like actually give a crap about this industry. I was like, well, yes, I do. He goes, well, I'm actually looking for some design work, my publishing company, and I've got a license, and I don't really know what to do with it. And, I think maybe you'd be the right person to talk about doing this because you've got some respect for brand. Have you ever heard of Buffy the Vampire Slayer? And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, I'm friends with some of the cast. I mean, I knew a lot of the Buffy situation. And I was like, yeah, of course. So I was like, well, maybe I'll hire you to do Buffy. Okay. So then we did Buffy. So Buffy was the first big break for me in terms of IP, and you can see it right here. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. There it is right there. So Buffy was the first big break for me. Now, here's the thing about Buffy. I knew, as my first licensed property into the universe, that when this publisher gets the Buffy out there, I knew it was going to sell well, and it has. And I knew it was going to hit the market fairly hard, and people were going to see it, and there's going to be a lot of eyes on me. So this was an opportunity for me, what I call the redemption round, where I can, with this legacy thing, I can actually make a game that fits the theme and brand of Buffy so well that even the Whedonites and the Whedon fans, who are unforgiving if you screw up, would be challenged to try and find something wrong with this game. And we worked very hard, and Buffy was out. And when Buffy hit the market, boom, sales through the roof, mass market. And even though it's got a 6.9 on Board Game Geek, the instructions that I had from the publisher was that Buffy needed to be a gateway game. So a lot of the gamers are giving it a bad review because it's a simple game, but we were instructed to make a gateway game, and I have no excuse for this. Give me a bad review, I don't care. It's a gateway game, and it'll always be a gateway game. So it's like Catan, a little bit more complex than Catan. And that's fine because we knew we were going to put expansions out, and now we're releasing Angel next year that are going to complex the game and make it more of an Arkham Horror, more of a very complex, big game. And the ratings are going up since the expansion Friends and Frenemies came out. because people are buying the expansion, adding it to the base game. Now it's becoming more of a gamey game. A gamey game. That's my term. Gamey game. And so Buffy hit the market, and then as soon as Buffy hit the market, other publishers would now look at me seriously and go, oh, you're the Buffy guy. Oh. And so then Buffy did so well for the publisher, they gave us Dragon Ball Z. We did Dragon Ball Z. We did Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop hit the market this year. It's exploding everywhere. People are like, Cowboy Bebop, oh my God. By the way, Cowboy Bebop is the most thematic game we've made to the theme, and Buffy was pretty much 100%. We got Angel. We got Star Trek Attack Wing. We're doing Star Trek Attack Wing revamping and cooperative system for WizKids. So we got Star Trek. We've got... we got Army of Darkness. We got Terminator. That's a whole other story. Terminator with Space Goat. Anybody here from the Space Goat kerfuffle? Who know what happened with that? Space Goat. Long story short, raised $1 million between two games, Terminator 1 and Evil Dead 2. Went bankrupt. Both games go to the shitstorm. We didn't do anything for Evil Dead 2, but I came up with this crazy idea where the idea is, if a company is willing to work with us, we will redesign Evil Dead 2, work with a publishing company for free. We'll do a Kickstarter called a Heartthrob Kickstarter, which we did just a couple months ago. In fact, one of our updates on the video for Evil Dead 2 was in Ghent, and we couldn't tell anyone where we were, but we were working on Divinity at the time. Evil Dead 2 Heartthrob Kickstarter, if we reach our funding goal of $200,000, every backer from the previous campaign gets their game for free. We hit it. So now 7,000 backers get their game that they previously lost to a bankruptcy. So between Update 77 and the Evil Dead 2, we call it like our opportunity for redemption to make this community better. Well, that kind of respect is one of the things that Larian really liked about us. And so, I mean, like, let's face it. Sven and the Larian gang, they don't ally themselves with people they don't like. They don't ally themselves to people that don't have the heart to make it happen. And I think anybody could have designed a good board game for Larian. There's lots of good designers out there, but I think Larian fell in love with our inability to put crap. Inability that if we do put crap out there, to try and rectify that crap. And I think that mentality is what made Larian like us. I'm assuming. This is from their conversations to us saying, we like you because we are invested in you. And that makes me feel better. So Evil Dead 2 is going to be released in February, which is great. Army of Darkness is coming. We've got a bunch of other licenses on the queue. A lot of things we can't talk about. This was Super Secret Project number 1. We've got Super Secret Project 2, 3, and 4. So we're pretty good, pretty excited. So between all that stuff, and at the beginning of this campaign, I don't know if you noticed, but in the comments and stuff, at the beginning of this campaign, there were a lot of Lynn Vander haters. And it's rightly so. People were nervous because they're like, and a lot of these people were from Gasconese, which hasn't been fulfilled yet. It's a couple years, right? People are like, oh my God, not Lynn Vander, these guys are scam artists. They have every right to believe that they are that way, that we are that way. We are not that way. But I'm hoping that through this open communication, the fact that I'm always going to be present, you can talk to me at any convention that I'm at. I'm approachable. You can email me. You can talk to me here, ask me any questions. I'll tell you the honest to God's truth, when we were about to go bankrupt, how we were broke, how we are now. Like, I will tell you these answers because this is, well, Shadowrun's a whole different concept. Shadowrun was a Catalyst kerfuffle, and to be fair, a lot of people that messaged us, I'm talking like 80 plus emails, a lot of people said that part of the reason why they're still into Shadowrun is because of Lynn Vander being able to take the brunt of the crap that was accidental to Catalyst. Catalyst is a brilliant company. Brilliant's not the right word. Catalyst is a good-hearted, awesome company. We like Catalyst because we are with Catalyst, and Catalyst thinks like we do. They make mistakes. They want to dig out of those mistakes. Shadowrun Sprawl Ops was a gigantic error on their part. They made some really bad judgment calls, clicked the buttons too quick on some things, and they cost them thousands of dollars. But they ponied up, and they did it, and they fixed the problem. And that is why we like Catalyst. So we will work with Catalyst again, which we are, in February, when we launch Shadowrun Takedown. So, now, my life is 100% entrepreneurial in terms of cafes, film, and board games. That's my life. How did the cafe come about? This location is a location that I built because I originally, in the back section, it's a big open warehouse space, which is now a gaming store, and Magic the Gathering plays back there. In that back room, I was going to do a film studio back there, and then the landlord said, take the front. And I'm like, I don't want a storefront. I don't want a store. And he goes, just take the front. I'll give it to you for good square footage. So I agreed. We took the whole damn building, and then we started building the film studio in the back, and then in the front, I'm like, well, instead of doing an office, maybe I'll do like a board game thing, because this is back when the board games were, when I thought I knew what I was doing. And maybe we'll serve coffee and let people test. Well, if I'm going to serve coffee, I might as well serve beer. Well, if I'm serving beer, I have to have food. Board game cafe. Cashed in favors, spent everything I had financially, built the cafe. Now the cafe is doing so well that it's chained. We got 2 more. We got a bunch being built in the U.S. We got looking at Boston, Seattle, Chicago. There's a few entrepreneurs there that are buying into the concept. So you could have a round table in your own home. Sven even wants to do one of these in Ghent. And I'm trying to get him to just pull the trigger on it so we can build a round table in Ghent, which would be cool. So everybody bug Sven for a round table in Ghent. Anyway, you guys have got my life story. There's lots more little side stories to it, but I think that's sort of like the all-in-one ball. It hasn't been easy. I've made an obscene amount of mistakes every step of the way. I've made mistakes financially. I've pulled the trigger too early on certain things. I have spent the wrong amounts of money in the wrong places. I've picked the wrong partners to work with. I've picked the wrong designers to work with. I've made the mistake of promising things and not being able to fulfill them on time. I've been late to meetings, late to deliveries. I have been stubborn in lots of my decisions. I have been argumentative on social media with people because I take it personally sometimes. I've been trolly. I've made human mistakes. I've made mistakes that are excusable, and some are inexcusable. And all I can say is a heartfelt apology. And all I can say is that I am doing everything I can to get past the growing pains. And I am now at a stage in my life where things are successful. And I'm now at a stage in my life where I'm attracting people to work with like Sven, who are integral to no end and see the potential in us and want to give us that chance. And I will be forever grateful to them. And for those of you who were Lynn Vander haters at the beginning, like Freddie and Thomas M. and a bunch of these people that were really against us and wrote some really nasty things on Board Game Geek and stuff and dissected us and tore us apart, I got to tell you, you guys are on board now. I'm really grateful that you've come around. I'm grateful that you've understood. I'm grateful that you posted those things, because without those things, people don't get to know who I am. I don't want you to think I'm just some sort of like designer that's hidden behind a shield of protection who is like lying to you all the time. I want you guys to know the hard truth, the growing pains of Divinity, and one of the of Lynn Vander, and one of the original videos that we put up. I finally got to tell the story about how even Larian let us go because our design wasn't strong enough. And that they were sad that they couldn't work with us because they liked who we were. And that made me try even harder, because after Update 77 and Albion's Legacy, after recovering Evil Dead 2, after finally putting together Gascony's and getting it out the door in the future here, and saving Evil Dead 2, all these things, why would I just shy away and let Divinity get canceled in my life when I know we're the right people to do this? No, we're going to Ghent. We're going to show them the game. We're going to make them see that one last time, that we can do a game that does justice to the brand. And they fell in love with it, and we did well. And every single action that I've ever done that was against the grain, that was borderline, all in, could go bankrupt, suicidal, has paid off. Spending the money and working my ass off for the last 5 years to get Albion's Legacy out the door. Hurting clients, burning myself along the way, destroying friendships, everything it takes to get there was worth it, because it chained into things like Buffy. Getting Buffy out the door and working extra hard to make sure it's the right feel for the brand and not caring about the money made the brand of Buffy so strong that it gave us the brand respect that someone like Larian can go, oh, they know how to give the brand respect. We know that Divinity is going to be exactly what we want it to be. And when we showed them it, they were like, this is it. So if you're concerned about whether Divinity is going to feel like Divinity, I can't quell your worries until you play the game, but I can tell you from my heart, it's Divinity. It's going to feel Divinity. You are going to walk away from a gaming session and go, I just played Divinity without even looking at a screen. And that's an important part of this game. And this is what you need to know if you're backing, because it's expensive. It's an investment to go all in at 220 US. And I mean, if you're going to dump that, and if you end up buying like the broken token and some of these gemstone dice and stuff, you're $400 or $500 in the hole at this point. If you're going to invest that kind of money, you need to know that this is the game you're going to get. And yes, if you're going to spend $400 or $500, you're going to get 100 hours of brutal, amazing content that's going to drive you through the Divinity universe. This is an heirloom for you guys. And I'm very excited because for us, this was the next logical milestone. Creating the Chronicle system, which is, some people can argue, oh, the Chronicle system's not new. This part and this part are all been done before. Yes. Carrots and potatoes and meat and gravy have all been made before. But this is my own brand of stew, this Chronicle system. This is our own stew that we are serving up, our family recipe, and we're giving it to you. That is my story. Let's get back to checking out these abilities. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask. All right, so let's look at Ambidextrous. I'll read the feed in a second. Ambidextrous. This is the next ability, Ambidextrous. If you have a free hand, using potions, scrolls, or grenades costs 1 fewer AP. ActionEconomy.com. That's actually really, really good. You could craft a bunch of items like grenades and things like that, and just like that's actually sweet sauce. Ambidextrous is good. Let's see. We've got Leech. Oh, Hester. Yes, the metamorph abilities are awesome as hell. You can turn people into chickens. Leech. Each time you defeat an enemy in your area, gain 1 HP. Sick. That's really good. So you just start So if you let other characters beat down the enemies and then you go and you clean them up, you can get your health back. Leech is very good. Okay. Then we've got Comeback Kid. Dun, 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 dun. Comeback Kid. When you are reduced to 0 HP, flip this token and set your HP to 3 after the current turn. So you go down and then you come back up. So this is like the pawn. This is another one that has the red lines, which means it refreshes every location. So this is Comeback Kid. So that's a really good one. Comeback Kid is awesome if you want to get into the thick of things, try to alpha strike and then take a beating and just go down and be like, yo, you can't keep me down. I get knocked down and I get up again and you're never going to keep me down, right? Let's see here. Torturer. This is another cool ability. Torturer. When you inflict a hit point damaging status on an enemy, so you hit them with like poison and you deal damage to them, also deal that enemy 2 additional damage. So whenever you deal damage with a damaging status, so like fire or poison or whatever, you get to deal 2 additional damage. This is gross. If you want to build like a pyromancer Aerothurge build and you're just going with zap, stun, or like a poison fire guy. You just poison you, poison you, fire you. You're not really dealing heavy damage at the beginning. You're just lighting everyone up on fire, backing away and just like, yeah. Torture is pretty good. Really cool build. Sidestep. I like this one. Sidestep is actually cool. It's got lots of little icons. Things with icons are always interesting design space. When affected by an area of effect, you may roll 1 blue die. On a special result, you are not affected. So this one's crazy. So I use this ability playing Rogue. I'll go in and I'll like Fury of Blows and stuff like that. Or I'll go invisible or I'll tank or I'll parry. And then I'll sit there and the monsters will all be around me. And then other people will just be like Fireball or Molotov or something crazy into the space. And I'll be like, yo, dodge. And because the blue die has the highest percentage of getting the special symbols, you dodge 50% of the time. You're out of the way, which is great. And you can blow source to reroll if you want. And then attract the Voidwoken and get in even more trouble. Escapist. Enemies can't attack you using special abilities on your turn. That's really important. Because the Magisters in this game, at least the ones for the demo, the Magisters have Opportunist, which means that if you leave their square, they hit you. And when they hit you hard. So escapist means you can go in and out of spaces without having to worry about anything. I know the Kraken has tentacles that when the tentacle hits you, it latches you and holds you there, but escapist can make you get away. So that's kind of cool. Makes you very versatile, slinky. So I've already said ambidextrous. I've got multiple copies of them here. So executioner I've already said, torturer I've already said, leech. Opportunist. Opportunist. When an enemy leaves your area, immediately make a free basic attack against them. This is awesome with the taunt skill. So everybody has a chance to taunt. It's on your regular skill here. You can spend 2 AP to taunt. One of the cool tactics I've seen in the testing so far is a tank will go in with Opportunist. Will go into a space with all the bad guys and like just kind of tank it out and like goad them and stuff. And then other people in other spaces will go taunt and pull them out, and the fighter will hit them and kill them before they have a chance to like, get out of the space. Totally badass. See you later, Stuckcliffe. We'll talk to you soon. What you said makes me curious. If you spend Source, do you attract the Voidwoken? Oh, Haster. Yes, you do. Let me finish off these abilities, and then we will go into how you can attract the Voidwoken. So this one here is Elemental Affinity. Elemental Affinity. This is badass. Elemental Affinity. Your items add successes based on your rank. So you get to add fire, electricity, earth, or water to your items. So if you have, if you are a Aerothurge Hydrosophist, then you will be able to add either water and make them wet or lightning and stun them to your basic attacks. So hold on. Items. So your items. So if you have a Molotov, you can throw the Molotov because it's an item. You can throw the Molotov, light everyone up on fire, and if you have Aerothurge, you can also stun them. So it becomes like an electrical Molotov. So cool. That's really cool. And the last one, I saved the best for last, Pet Pal. Now, Pet Pal has no special ability in the game, per se. It has no like sidestep or dice rolling or affinity. All Pet Pal has is it has the ability to speak with animals, is what it says. You can speak with animals. But Pet Pal is amazing because it interacts with the book, the NPCs, and the will be the character books when we hit them at the 1.5. And Pet Pal gives you opportunities to do things in the game that you wouldn't be able to do by talking to animals. So Pet Pal is also a very important thing. And those, my friends, are the current talents that I have done. There will be some racial specific talents, but these are the main ones for now. That includes, we have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 talents to choose from. 15 talents to choose from. Choose wisely. All right, I'll put these away, and I'm going to answer that Voidwoken question. So what you said makes me curious. If you spend Source, what happens with the Voidwoken? So spending Source, I happen to ironically have a Source token here. Spending Source allows you to re-roll your dice. It's a dice mitigator, mechanically speaking. Thematically speaking, it's your Source powers. But you're using the Source to control your fate. It's actually a mechanic that we use in Albion's Legacy, which is cool because it was brought in from Albion's Legacy. In Albion's Legacy, you have this thing called Destiny, and you spend your Destiny tokens to mitigate your dice rolls. And that's Albion's Legacy. I happen to have an Albion's Legacy die right here to show you. So in Albion's Legacy, we have these symbols on the dice. We have prowess, loyalty, movement, altruism, courage, and mana burst, which is the Triskelion. And so in Albion's Legacy, when you roll the dice, you're trying to match symbols. And in order to mitigate the dice luck, you have a bunch of Destiny tokens that you can spend. And when you spend the Destiny, you alter your fate, and you get to re-roll dice. So in this game here, when you spend a Source, you get to re-roll dice or change the die face to what you want it to be. So you can get that special procced off or something. On your character board, you got to record how much Source you've spent and how much Source you can currently spend. As you gain levels, you get more Source, so you'll get more destiny tokens, per se. You start off with 1, and you get 2, eventually you get to 3, and you can blow them however you want. You can blow all 3 and re-roll all 3 times in one round. But the more source you spend, the more opportunities will happen throughout the game, much like a keyword, that the Void Woken will attack you. It could be something as simple as, during this encounter, if you have spent X source, whenever you spend a source, roll a die. If you hit a special, summon a Void Woken. Or it might be things like when you're in the book reading and you're making decisions, one decision will say, your character stumbles upon X, narrative, narrative, narrative. If your character has spent more than 3 source, summon X Void Woken, fight begins. It's crazy. So here's the thing. If you don't spend source, if you decide not to use any luck mitigation and you just decide to just go through and barrel through as you have it, there are other things that can happen in the game. Like you haven't spent source, therefore source is surrounding you, and that attracts something else, aka the Magisters. So it's really kind of a push-pull mechanic, which is kind of cool. But the more source you spend, the more opportunity you have to really get rocked by these Void Woken, and they're disgusting. So, what is the best place to get updates on the production of the game once the Kickstarter campaign is done? So you will see updates of the campaign weekly here on this channel. So subscribe to the channel, because Dylan will be talking about design, Josh will be talking about user interface, and I'll be talking about the business behind it, what cons we're going to, what we're going to have to show. This is going to be an interesting one, because usually in Kickstarters we show you the progress of the game that is... like we'll show you the board, we'll show you like the cards, we'll show you progress. We're only going to show you graphical stuff. We don't want to show you any of the story. So the updates on this are going to be very weird, because it's going to be like we're not showing you anything, because we can't show you the story, because Larian and myself is actually really, really like important to us, for you to experience the story, for both for the Chronicle system and for like the fact that it's canonical Larian storyline, that we want you to experience the story the same way you would experience Divinity Original Sin 2. So that's what that is. Excuse me. Oh, that was a hell of a yawn. Excuse me. The next place we're going is PAX South in San Antonio. That is middle of January. How can you play as the Black Cat? The Black Cat is going to be a playable character, and yes, you can talk to merchants. The rest of those details I'll save for Josh and Dylan's feeds. I'm interested in how you learned Estonian. I learned Estonian because, and why do I go to Estonia? If I remember correctly, on every summer. Kalle Finnberg. Where are you from, Kalle? Or Kalle? Kalle. I believe if you pronounce Kalle properly, it's Kalle, right? Kalle. You have to hang on to the L. Scott Sullivan, amazing story, so much respect. Well, thank you for watching, Scott. I appreciate that. Kalle, his wife is Estonian. Oh. Yes, Edwin, my wife is Estonian. So yes, my wife, Finland. Oh, kiitos. Kiitos for backing this game. I've been to Finland probably 9 times in my life. So I don't know. The Finnish that I've learned keeps getting blended into the Estonian, because I know you have a lot more vowels than I do. So minu nimion Thomas. Minu nimion or mu nimion in Estonian is my name is, and I know you have like an extra verb or something in there, an extra like vowel or 2 in there. Meldev tutvuda means it's nice to meet you. I'm not sure what it is in Estonian, but all I know is kiitos, because I say that all the time when I'm there. But I love Finland. I've seen quite a bit of it, and I plan on going back on a fairly regular basis. In fact, in Helsinki, there is this really bad pizza place that the locals call it is the cheap pizza place, but I love it, and it's called Pizza Rocks, and I used to go there all the time and get pizza, even though it was like really bad pizza. I used to love it. So now when I go to Finland, I try to get more of the more traditional stuff. But anyway, Finland's amazing. I spend most of my time in Estonia. In fact, a lot of Divinity was developed in Estonia, because I was there working out of some of the cafes, and I would go down to Gamescom, and my whole legendary story of forgetting the game on the plane happened from leaving Estonia. So it's like Estonia's got a big part of my life, and I've been going to Estonia for the past 12 years. So Maregi Nesti Kelest. I speak Estonian very briefly, if it wasn't for my linguistics background, Estonia and Finnish and all that, the whole Livonian descent language background and Hungarian descent language background would be like hard to understand, because Estonia has no masculine and feminine. Everything is very like dry and cut. And so it's just like it's location based and it's situationally based and ending based, which is a very difficult language for people in general to pick up. But so anyways, I guess the best way to say is Kitos for backing this game. Oh my God, food. Okay, so every convention, actually, just the drive home from PAX Unplugged from Philadelphia, we were talking about, Josh and I were talking about all of the conventions we go to across the world, and how each convention has. Is that the gaming store? Pegasus and. Oh, about Pegasus. No, sorry. In Tallinn, I can tell you all the places to eat for sure, especially in Old Town. But I can tell you that, okay, everybody, when you go to Estonia, if you go to Estonia, first off, wait until I'm there, let me know, and I'll show you around. 2, we're opening a round table, a store like this, in Estonia. Sometime January, February, I'm not sure exactly when. It's been a long time building it out. They're going to have real stone, so it's not going to have this fake hand-carved movie stone. It's going to be real. But we are opening a round table in Estonia, and we do have plans. We do have plans to move a round table into Finland and to Latvia. So we got ideas, but because the Baltics don't really have much in terms of like it's going to be in Tallinn, Old Town. In fact, it's going to be right in the heart of Old Town, and my partners there own a bunch of cafes already, so we've got a good grip. So when you go to Estonia, you got to go to this small city called Parnu, okay, and it's about 2 hours, about an hour and a half from Tallinn. And it's a small beach town. It's the summer capital. And they have this pizza place called Stefani. Stefanni. Stefani Pizza. As an Italian, Stefani Pizza is the best pizza I've ever had. And it's a little place in the middle of the Baltics in Estonia. Gives me the best pizza experience I've ever had. Right? So go there and check it out if you're ever in Estonia. And if we're ever hanging in Estonia, we'll drive in there and we'll get this pizza. Your mind will be blown. And if you're ever in Finland, Kalle, I'll find you and we'll figure it out. Parnu, Estonia, yes. From Tallinn to Parnu. Can Chronicle cards be used multiple times? Well, we'll be giving you multiple Chronicle cards because you might want to go through the adventure multiple times. The thing is, you're only going to be able to upload one Chronicle card to the website to modify the game, the real-time game. So you can play the game multiple times, score multiple Chronicles, and then you can put one in. Choose the one you want, and you can put it in, right? Oh, Gibson, you just be quiet. That's how I treat my friends. Well, Gibson, you be quiet. This pizza will blow your mind. It has been 100% success rate. Everybody that says something like that and has come to Estonia and has eaten this pizza, they were like, yeah, okay, it wins. You just be quiet. Where will the game be manufactured? China. Boda. Can't say I ate anywhere I would claim as the best. Oh my God. Since I travel the whole world, I've got all of my categories of foods as the best of. So Parnu, Stefani Pizza is the best pizza I've ever had. So that wins on the pizza side, right? And so then there's other food cultures, like where the best burger is, where the best lattes are, where the best breakfast place is, the best pancakes. I've got all that stuff kind of figured out. So 850 degrees Etobicoke. Interesting. I did not get cheesesteak in Philly. It's embarrassing, I know. I did not get cheesesteak in Philly. Huh. How many boxes will we receive if you pledge the 220? Oh, so Stephen, here's a good question. That's a good question. So currently right now, you're going to receive, the Kickstarter backers are going to receive either one giant package with 2 boxes, or you're going to receive the retail stuff as retail packaged. I believe the discussion is going toward retail stuff as packaged. So the retail stuff, what that means is the core game will have everything you've seen on the core game, the 120 plus a bunch of the stretch goals are going to be included into the core game now, which are going to be poutine in Montreal. So in Montreal, I've had the best Montreal smoked meat, and I think it's Schwartz's. I've had Schwartz's before. Delicious. So the core box is going to have a bunch of materials from the stretch goal content in there. Then you're going to have the 2 expansions, and each of those expansions have added material from the stretch goals for retail SKU purposes. And then, so we're going to have the core box, expansion 1, expansion 2, boss upgrade pack, which also includes dungeon upgrade, and all that's all going into one. And then we're going to have the giant minis, and all of the plastic is going to be in one pack. So all of the plastic that's not included in the core box is all going to be in one pack. How that's denominated, so there's going to be 5 SKUs in retail. So people are saying, oh, it's going to be cheaper in retail. Not correct. In retail, it is going to be far more expensive than what you're buying it at here, because here you're getting the batch. And in retail, people are going to have to buy 5 SKUs worth of stuff. And when you buy 5 SKUs, there's inflation on each of those SKUs, so you know it's going to be more expensive because there's more mouths to feed, from distribution to consolidators to retailers. It's going to be much more expensive. So that's what so you're going to have to do your best on that one. Oh, poutine in Montreal, so much diversity. Oh, poutine is just great in general. Excuse me. Ooh, poutine in Quebec is better. Oh gosh, the French are fighting. The French are fighting. Portuguese poutine with chorizo. Ooh, no, you cannot beat chorizo and grilled chicken on a poutine. That is delicious sounding. Back to Divinity. Just to give you a little update on languages, because we got a bunch of French speakers here. There is a lot of discussion going on with languages. I cannot tell you where the decision tree is at yet. All I know is that we are leaning toward doing our very best to make it financially viable for us to translate languages. And I know French and German are the 2 languages we're working on. Between us, I think we can get there. I think Lorient is really smart, so they are working on making sure that costs are accounted for, time is accounted for, mistakes are accounted for, contingencies accounted for, and they want to make sure they've got every angle covered before they make a decision. They don't lean into yes or no. They lean into there is no choice until everything is right, and then we make the choice. I feel that we will get to that decision. I don't know if we're going to get to it before the end of this campaign, but there's a pretty good chance that there's going to be French and German translations, at least to start, if we can get all those mitigators in place. It's very expensive to translate. They don't just want some random person to speak the language to translate for $20, because that's where mistakes happen, and you know that Lorient's about quality, so we need to honor their respect for quality. They would hire the appropriate translations, which is an appropriate firm, which means a lot of money goes into putting in making sure that every word is accurately respected in the inflection of the text. Because you can Google translate this, and it'll come out as, ability is this, and it reads really dry and doesn't give you the flavor and feel that you want. Or you can translate it with the appropriate inflections of the language and culture. And when you translate that culture, you win way more. And so that's what we're aiming for. Can all the stuff in the 220 pledge fit in the main box, or we need to get some sort of larger carrier? So most of the stuff will fit in the main box. The giant miniatures will not. In order for us to put the giant miniatures in one box, we would have to make something bigger than Gloomhaven. And so we just won't be able to do that. Because the dragon is like this. The dragon is massive, man. The dragon is my face. So, do you guys accept or are interested in game ideas? Can people send game ideas for review? We're always looking at game ideas. Now that we've made all of our mistakes in the industry, and you've heard my origin story, I will say that because of Divinity, and because of once we get Gaskin's Legacy fulfilled, I am, not Lynn Vander, but I am with a different team starting a new publishing company. Now that I know what not to do, and not saying I'm not going to make mistakes again, but I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is now, and I'm starting a publishing company that Lynn Vander will be a part of, but will not be Lynn Vander. So Lynn Vander works with a bunch of other publishers. Like I said, we work with Star Trek and a bunch of other licenses, so we can't publish while working with those licenses. So I have the capabilities, because I'm not the main designer. I'm just a content creative guy. I have the business development to go off and start a second team and create a second group of Avengers to do publishing. And they can collate and work together with Lynn Vander and with the Roundtable and other things. So I'm always looking for more designs at this point, because Veridim Publishing is going to be a part. It's called Veridim. It means to speak with truth, Veridim. I hybrid built the word off of Latin as to speak the truth. And so Veridim Publishing is being born out of the hardships that Lynn Vander had to go through. And that publishing company, as its separate entity, is going to go and create cool products that you're going to see at conventions. And Divinity is going to be a part of that distribution chain, I hope. So we'll see. How casual board gamer friendly is the game? Because 40-page rulebook might scare some of the people in the first place. The 40-page rulebook is actually more about the step-by-step process of playing. If you take this game and you lay it out and people see it and they go, holy crap, and you try to explain the whole game before you start playing the game, you've already lost. I find that I go through stage by stage. The way I was showing the game at PAX Unplugged is I sat them down, I said, welcome to Divinity. Take a look at your components. People are looking. I'm like, do you know what any of this does? They're like, no. I said, cool. Read the first page of the rule book, or the storybook. They're like, what? I'm like, read the first page. Someone read it. The world is changing. You can feel it in your bones. You may not be able to put it into words, but you know that things are different, darker. The summer seems a bit colder than before, with a piercing chill reaching into your guts. Everyone's heard of rumors of beasts from another realm, monsters with no place in the world. While many dismiss them as tall tales, they are too many for your liking to completely disregard them. You must look out for your people, and that includes being aware of the tides of the world before they come lapping at your shores. Dylan's a good writer, eh? Your domain may only be a simple village to most travelers, barely worthy of noting on a map, but all the people living on the grounds depend upon you for their safety and solace. I make them read. They read this, and then I'd say, what's the instructions say? Set up the gargoyle location and do not use the location timer. Areas 4, 7, and 8 are not used for this location. Then I teach them about the board, and I teach them about the locations. And I go step by step by step by step. And about 20 minutes into playing the game, they're already playing the game, and by 20 minutes into the game, they've learned everything. As soon as the combat breaks out, I'm like, okay, now the rest of your components make sense. I teach them what they do, I teach them how the cards work. I just say, now try something, and they try something, and then they know the game. So the rule book's going to be 40 pages, but I'm telling you, a chunk of those pages is going to be step-by-step playing like this. Page 1 will say, read the rule book, set up the board. Step 2 will be, do this. Step 3 will be, this is now combat. Step 4 will be, this is how dice work. And so you'll get a lot of like description. And that's what's going to be important with the rule book. And there's a lot of terminology to learn. But once you get the terminology, you're fine. Plus, we've done things like, we've put all the information. This is why languages are going to be hard to do as well. We've put a lot of all the information on the back of each token. So you got your iconography, so knockdown. It's got the little thing here that says you have to spend this action to get up. You have -2 to that elemental, +2 to that elemental because you're grounded. But you've also got all the information. It tells you verbally everything that you need to know. And so that's just a lot of extra rules to read. No point in giving it to you all at once. Read it as you go. So yeah, we're always looking at game ideas. There's a lot of copies of the skills and talents. I don't know what the totals are. Excuse me. I'm sorry. It's really embarrassing, this yawning. Must drink my cappuccino faster. I'm really slow to absorbing games, but this one was not hard to get into. Why, thanks, Will. Yeah, you did seem to catch it pretty well. Everybody that plays this game, this isn't me trying to sell you. Everyone that plays this game, they're in it in like 10 minutes. They're already they know what they're doing. The game is like, it's easy to master, easy to learn, hard to master, because decision trees are hard. Record this so we can use it. Yeah, there is. I did actually message Larian. I think it'd be kind of cool. I have a few friends that are voice actors, mainly Vince Casso and Mark Meir, Commander Shepard from Mass Effect. I'm trying to get them to. I want to see if I can get them and a few of my my female acting friends to get together to do some diverse voices. And I think it would be kind of cool. We have the soundstage because of my film background. My sound guy has a soundstage to do ambient noises and sound effects, and we got music and stuff. I would love to do a narrative of all of the cards, because for me, I think it would be just a lot of fun to like be able to read the cards. The campfire. The bandits celebrate their victory, but they're not what you thought. These, can't tell you the rest of that. These are magisters. They see you, and one of the magisters shouts as you rush into combat. So, I mean, it'd be fun to try and read it, see if I can get it going. But, I mean, it'd be a cool app to do. There's been discussion on it, but it's a lot of work. I'm not afraid of the work. It's actually, I'm afraid of the time. And I think my time is more valuable on making sure that this game is balanced properly. Hold on. Gotta get myself back in focus here. Okay. So, let's see here. In general, what is your favorite game mechanic? In general? Oh, God. That's a good question. Because, wow, that's a good question. My favorite game mechanic. I can tell you what I don't like. I don't like mechanics that are king making. So I don't like mechanics that, like in Catan, where you can trade resources to your friends just to help them win, or to piss off your opponent. Like, I don't like that kind of stuff. I'm generally not a fan of games that when you plan something, your execution gets thwarted by randomness. So that kind of pisses me off, which is weird because Albion's Legacy is all about randomness. But there's enough dice mitigation and stuff in Albion's Legacy to allow you to escape death. And the hardest part about Albion's Legacy is, which is probably my favorite. Okay, so this is oddly self-serving because it's my own game. But my favorite thing in Albion's Legacy, and my favorite mechanic, next to the crafting components of Divinity, is that killing characters in Albion's Legacy, like actually killing your character, is part of the action economy. You have a higher likelihood of winning the game. Now, Albion's Legacy is really hard. It's got like an 18% win rate. You have a higher chance of winning the game if you let your characters die and you pick a new character, because you can respawn with a new character. A higher chance, right? So respawn people, but I like to play the game where I don't die. I don't want my character to die, and when I do that, I make the game significantly harder on me, because the game is meant to be fail forward. The game is meant to like beat you down and make you question. Sorry, this camera for some reason in this lighting is being very hard to focus. So, so using the death of a character as a mechanic is my favorite. The next thing is the crafting components. So that's it for sure. Okay, so I don't know. How long am I streaming for? Hey, Arjun. Hey, Arjun's here. Holy cow! I've been talking for 2 hours. Wow, that's insane, guys. I didn't even realize it was 2 hours. You guys are rocking this. And there's still an audience of 50 people. Moly holy. That's crazy. Would a rain spell douse fire in a location? Yes. Yes, a rain spell will douse fire. With the new Barrelmancy stuff we've got going, rain will be very useful. Yeah, this is crazy streaming. If a character's on fire, if a whole thing is on fire, you can cast rain and you can douse the fire for sure. You can get rid of burning statuses. How long will the pledge manager be open for? Oh gosh, quite a few months. You'll be fine. Hey, you came back for the end of the stream, it seems. That's correct. Yeah, I should probably... I'm just sitting here playing with the cats and listening to you. Man, I'm allergic to cats. I can't even go near those little things. Wow, Arjun. It's cool to see you. So Arjun's been on regular True Talk. He's been one of our regulars from Deutschland. He's from Netherlands. And we actually met him several times when we were in Amsterdam, dropping off games that we owed him. So he's been a good supporter, and he's a Lin Vandarian. So we have this thing we call Lin Vandarians. It was a term given to us by some of the Lin Vandarians who are like charge, and so like they're like the army of Lin Vander. So we call ourselves Lin Vandarians. They're like the troops, and you guys are like part of the Knights of the Round Table, right? David Lawson specifically referring to the location with the campfire on it. What was the question? Oh, so the optional rule of putting in the terrain effects is something you can do. So the terrain effects that we've unlocked already, you have the option to add that rule in. You can take that out and just go normal. But if you do have that option, you can use rain on that thing and you can swap out the effect. So if it says campfire and it's got a fire thing, you can swap it out and put a fog cloud, and then you can poison the cloud and do stuff to it. It's really cool. We kept it out at the beginning because we were afraid that it was going to be complexity creep and that the game was going to be too complex. And so we did this, and we managed to get it to a point where now we've got it integrated into the game that is natural and won't get too, oh, you guys are sweet. I don't sell Linvander merchandise yet. I am working on a few things. One of the things we're working on is a dagger that has a name etched in it, and the dagger will go on a dagger wall, or you'll get your dagger. The other thing is we're doing a police badge. So we're getting this icon done in metal about this big that goes into a wallet. It's a thick, heavy, double-sided metal badge. Like you might even have problems getting through security with it because it could be like construed as like a heavy weapon. But we're getting these badges made. And what we want to do with it is, because we're in games... Okay, so I guess I'm back. I guess for a small period of time there I lost the stream. Whoa, sorry guys. I lost the stream. Okay, now that we're back. These badges we're going to get are going to have if you have a badge, you're considered part of the Knights of Linvander. Not to be confused with the Knights of Ren. So you'd be with the Knights of Linvander. And this badge, if you show it at conventions going forward, participating publishers and Linvander will have special things like a one-off token that we've printed or a card for specific games, and you can get these things from us just by showing the badge. So we might make a special one-off card for Divinity and print it, and it might be a special unique ability to the game that's non-official, that if you've got this badge, you come up to us at like PAX or something and say, hey, and I go, oh, you're a Linvanderian. There's the card. And so it's kind of a cool thing. We're working on it. We're waiting for these badges. Norse Foundry has to hurry up and do it. Drew? Will the 4 barrels have specific elements, or are they like placeholders in which get elements on the fly? We are doing double-sided barrels. So on one side it'll be fire, death fog, fire, poison, water, oil. It's going to have various effects that can interact, and the barrels will have cards that will interact and tokens that will change the statuses of your locations. For painting purposes, you'll be able to paint the barrels, yes. And you'll want the Vallejo pack because it's going to have all the colors in it to be able to paint the barrels, the colors you need with the water and the fire and everything, and the oil and all that. I'll show you a Void Woken card. You want to see a Void Woken card? I got no problem. If you ask, I will show. Let's see if I can find a Void Woken card. Where's my Void Woken card? Josh is messaging me. He's trying to phone me and message me. Wants to talk to me. But he won't come on the feed and talk to me. This is a Void Woken. Dun 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 dun. This is a weaker Void Woken. Dun 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 dun. So you can see it's pretty powerful. It's like practically immune to poison. I mean, 8 resistance is ridiculous. It has 1 red die, direct past armor. It's called. The red dice have the highest punch, so it could deal 3 direct to your face. It's immune to poison. Dominate. If a player spends Source, every Void Woken in play removes all negative statuses. If it has none, it heals 3 HP. So if you use Source while this is in play, it heals and gets revived. So it eats your Source. It's worth 3 coins. So if you think you can take one out pretty quickly in the middle of your fight, you might as well summon them and get some extra loot. So those are the Void Wokens. Those are the Void Wokens we have designed on cards. We actually have a lot of Void Wokens. We actually have Void Woken, like, a ton of stuff. Including big-ass Void Woken worms and you name it. All right. What else we got here? One more question on the metal coins. You have enough metal coins to play the game. if you're like me and you just like having extras of things, I mean, you can run out of coins in the game if you decide to just hoard your money. I would recommend getting an extra coin pack or two. It's not a big deal. I mean, you don't need it, but if you're like me, I want extras. I'm probably getting 2 sets of gemstone dice because I want 2 sets, because I want to be able to have on one side of the table, have one enemy movement die and their own sets of dice, and on the other side. So that way, I don't like to be like, okay, who's got the blue dice? I just want to be able to grab the blue dice and go, and double sets usually make it work. And if you get the 220 pledge, you already get a bonus set of dice. So totally worth it at the 220 pledge. So we'll do this Linvander badge thing soon. I've got an idea for it. If you guys like that Knights at the Round Table silent thing you saw, I think I'm going to taper that into the film, because the Linvander badge, because we're going to be kickstarting for a few celebrities to join the show. We're doing a 6-episode series. I'm hoping one of the episodes is the Divinity episode, which would be really funny. And you get to see those actors again. So Brendan Mejia was from Power Rangers, and Vince Castle's from The Guild. One more question about terrain effects. This is great. So campfire gets doused and replaced with fog. Can the fog be electrified? Yes. Yes. If there's a fog out there, it can be death fog. If terrain gets modified, you can modify the terrain even further. So yes, you can. You can poison it, so you get a poison cloud. So when you go in there, the location is considered poisoned. So as long as you are in that location, when you activate, you take 2 damage as if you're poisoned. Totally reasonable. And you can start goading creatures into those spaces, which is awesome. The undead do have a different healing mechanic. It's a little bit fiddly because the undead are such a special case that some abilities and stuff currently on the design space just heal as they heal, but we are going to have some alternatives on there for people. I think it's time for Josh's feed. I should probably see if Josh is going to do his feed. I'm going to head out, guys. Thank you so much for all your questions. Thank you for asking everything. I'm glad we were able... Broken token insert. Go get it. It's going to be sick. I'm glad we had a chance to go through some of the components. There's still so much more to go through. I think maybe next feed, I'll go through all the status tokens so you can see what all the statuses do. And we'll talk about... we'll just continue talking. Thanks for asking the question about how I came to be in the industry. I apologize if it took an hour to describe this, but it was totally worth hearing you guys talk about it. Please spread the word. Subscribe to the channel. Let everyone know what's going on. Go back onto the Kickstarter. Make some positive comments. Buy some stuff. All that good stuff. Thank you guys for being around, and much love. You guys are all the best. So let's see here. Wait. Aita. Kitos, spasiba, merci, grazie, cinqueun, I got Polish in there, right? Shishia, domo. I know more. What else we got? What else? Did I get most of our cultures here? Did I capture all of us? Thanks, y'all. Dankeschön. Oh my God. And Dankeschön, Dankevel from Belgium. How did I forget that entire region? Dankeschön, Dankevel. Danke is another one. Dankewel. Cheers from Diananda. Cheers. What else we got? Tak. Oh yeah, tak is for Swedish. That's right. So I think I got most of our cultures. If I didn't, I apologize. Gomenasai, which is Japanese for sorry, gomenasai, and all this other good stuff. So let's do it. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.